The standard 8-pin DIP package layout defines its physical interface, providing clear access to its power, ground, and internal logic pins. Its longevity stems from its extreme utility as a timing standard, found in everything from simple hobbyist projects to complex industrial controllers. As this diagram illustrates, the chip operates in 3 primary modes. It can generate precise timing delays, act as a continuous oscillator, or serve as a state memory device. To utilize these functions, we must look past the external pins and understand the internal architecture that defines its behavior. We will demystify this system by reverse engineering the 555, constructing its internal block diagram from the ground up. Our goal is to see how basic analog sensing components combine with digital memory to create a programmable timing system. We begin with a blank silicon boundary, established only by these 8 external contact points. From here, we will fill this empty space, transforming a simple power supply into a complete mixed-signal machine. We begin the internal build by routing the supply voltage and ground through a string of 3 identical resistors. To calculate the voltages, we assume the internal amplifiers draw 0 input current, ensuring the full supply current flows through the resistor string. Using the voltage divider rule, we find that the first node provides a stable upper reference of exactly 2/3 of the supply voltage. The second node provides a lower reference at exactly 1/3 of the supply. This simple resistor chain gives the chip 2 hard-coded analog boundaries that will govern all future timing decisions. To use these references, we add a sensing layer using 2 comparators. As shown here, the upper comparator has its inverting terminal tied to the 2/3 reference, while its non-inverting terminal connects to the external threshold at pin 6. Comparator 1 only outputs a high signal when the external threshold voltage exceeds that 2/3 limit. The lower comparator monitors the 1/3 reference, with its inverting terminal connected to the external trigger at pin 2. This lower comparator fires a high signal only when the external trigger voltage drops below the 1/3 boundary. These comparators bridge the gap between analog and digital, converting smooth voltage levels into precise high or low logic signals. We route these comparator outputs to the set and reset pins of an internal RS flip-flop. The flip-flop acts as the chip's memory. Its current output is determined by the history of its inputs, as detailed in this truth table. When the upper comparator fires, sending a 1 to the reset pin, the internal Q-bar state is forced to 1. When the lower comparator fires, sending a 1 to the set pin, the Q-bar state flips to 0. Most importantly, if neither comparator is firing, the flip-flop enters a hold state. It ignores electrical noise and maintains its previous output until a threshold is crossed again. This persistent memory allows the 555 to make stable, state-based decisions based on transient analog events. To drive external components, we route the internal Q-bar signal through the output driver stage. This stage uses an inverting buffer to flip the Q-bar signal back to standard logic. This ensures pin 3 matches the internal state of the flip-flop, while providing up to 200 milliamps to drive TTL loads. We simultaneously route that Q-bar signal to the base of the discharge transistor at pin 7. When Q-bar is 1, the transistor acts as a closed switch. It creates a low impedance path to ground that instantly drains an external timing capacitor. When Q-bar is 0, the transistor acts as an open switch. This high impedance state breaks the path to ground, allowing the external capacitor to charge. Finally, we add 2 override pins that allow users to bypass the standard system logic. Pin 5, the control pin, connects directly to the upper comparator. This allows you to externally adjust the 2/3 voltage threshold and modify the timing math. Pin 4 is an active low override. Grounding this pin forces the flip-flop to 0, terminating any active timing cycle regardless of what the comparators are sensing. The internal architecture is now complete. The 555 can reference voltages, sense analog inputs, maintain digital state memory, and drive external power. We can now see the fully integrated system in action by simulating a trigger event. This diagram maps the dynamics of the set phase. The cycle begins when an external signal on pin 2 drops below the 1/3 supply voltage reference. This voltage drop causes the output of comparator 2 to go high. The RS flip-flop registers this input and enters a set state, forcing its Q-bar output to 0. Because Q-bar is now 0, the discharge transistor opens to allow the capacitor to charge, and output pin 3 simultaneously goes high. This signal cascade allows a momentary voltage drop to initiate a precise, powered timing cycle. Eventually, the external timing capacitor reaches its limit, triggering the reset phase. As the capacitor charges, the voltage at pin 6 eventually exceeds the 2/3 reference limit. This causes comparator 1 to fire its output high. The flip-flop enters a reset state, flipping its Q-bar output back to 1. With Q-bar at 1, the discharge transistor closes to drain the capacitor to ground, and output pin 3 drops to low. This discharging action restores the system to its baseline state, clearing the 555 for the next trigger event. We have traced the 555 from a simple voltage divider to a complex analog-to-digital state machine. This pin function matrix serves as a complete reference. Every pin's behavior is a direct consequence of the internal architecture we've mapped out. Ultimately, pin 2 and pin 6 serve as the primary drivers, acting as the analog inputs for the digital flip-flop. By exposing these internal comparators and memory states to the outside world, the 555 allows engineers to program intricate, high-precision system behaviors using only a few external resistors and capacitors.